let's burst some myths out there.
No one wants waffle. Nobody wants waffle. Make your message concise and effective. It was a very particular way of life. The only way success was determined was if you were in medicine, if you're a dentist, if you're a lawyer. I was a creative. I had parents who were really supportive and understanding of what I wanted to be. Moving from London to the UAE, it was like I was reborn.
And you were the face of MTV UK, isn't it?
I got it, and I was unemployed and I was lost. There does come a point in your career where you need other people to believe in you. There's a communication style in the way you communicate, and then there's communication styles in the way you receive. What are you doing? You're just meant to be an entertainer. Why are you trying to be something else? And it's actually Mr. Jay Shetty that said this to me. Picture abhi baki hai dost.
Welcome to Women of Wonder by Reema Mahajan, or Wow Woman as we lovingly call it. This is our initiative to bring to you stories of empowered and ambitious women so that we can all take inspiration from them. My guest today is a remarkable media personality. She's the anchor at Dubai One TV. She's an ex-radio jockey. She runs her own programs on SPKR, which are going to launch very soon. And she has amazing tips to share with us today. Welcome to the show, Nimi. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely. And I think I want to start off our segment with public speaking, which is what I look up to you for, right? So let's burst some myths out there. I'll ask you a myth and you can tell me if it's true or not.
Okay.
My first one is, public speaking is an innate talent or is it a learned skill?
100% a learned skill. And I don't think that we are born confident, or confidence is either something that you either have or you don't. I think it's a skill that you can learn for sure.
All right. The next one, a good speech is all about the content.
Incorrect.
Why do you say that?
I say that because 93% of your message is through nonverbal communication. And that is through body language, eye contact, hand gestures. Your message, people get the first impression of you within the first 11 seconds of meeting you. And that is before you even speak a word. So it's all in the body language. So I have to say no to that one.
All right. So the next one here is, more words mean a more effective speech.
I'm going to sound really cliche. I think less is more. If you are going to use more, make sure that those words are really relaying your message. No one wants waffle. Nobody wants waffle. So make your message concise and effective.
All right. You're bursting a lot of myths out there. So next one is, the audience is always critical and judgmental.
It's interesting because I do think that depends on perspective. Mm-hmm. If you do have that mentality or mindset that everyone is watching you, they're critiquing you, then of course, naturally, you're going to think that. I don't think the audience are that. I think they're quite empathetic, actually. And if they see someone struggling on stage or suffering with low self-confidence, if anything, they empathize with them and they actually want them to do well. When you see someone mess up, you're like, please, come on, get through it. I think the audience feel really empathetic.
Amazing. The next one is, public speaking is only for extroverts. And I think I kind of agree because I'm an introvert and I'm really trying to learn public speaking. Uh-huh. So I think I firmly grew up with the belief that public speaking is for extroverts.
Really? Interesting. Why? Because it just didn't feel natural to you?
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort for an introvert to come outside the shell and to present our opinions in public. It's not that easy.
So here's where I think we all have alter egos. Right? Because you telling me you're an introvert is such a shock to me because I feel like you're such an extrovert. So again, it's down to perception of ourselves, but alter egos are really important. I think this version of you hosting a podcast is potentially a very different version to you when you're, sitting at home with your friends maybe, or, meeting people for the first time. So I think we all have different versions of ourselves and we kind of tap into them in different moments of our life. So I would say that I was an introvert as well growing up. I still think I am. So I would have to disagree.
My last one is about anxiety, right? You must eliminate all the anxiety to be a really good speaker.
I don't think so. I think there's a difference between identifying anxiety and excitement. Mm-hmm. That feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when your favorite artist is performing at a concert and they're about to come on stage and you feel physically sick. you think you're like nervous and all of this stuff is actually excitement. So it's identifying the difference between nervousness and excitement. And then once you've identified that, then you can tell how to tackle it.
But I have butterflies before every podcast I do, right? And I think some nervousness is really good because it helps you prepare for the session. You go in more prepared. But what tips do you have for anybody who's going into public speaking or hosting or anchoring? What would you suggest are the best preparation tips?
I would say that diet is super important. I mean, we all talk about this the moment we step onto the stage, but what about everything that happens in the 30 minutes to an hour before that? So that's diet. Foods to avoid is stuff like dairy, soft drinks, any fizz, chocolate, because what that all does is kind of like line your mouth with really thick mucus. And so your mouth is moving at a much slower rate than it should be. Therefore, you're also more prone to coughing and, things like this. So you need a very clear system before you go on. So I say diet is very important and breathing is essential. It sounds so simple. We all do it, subconsciously, unknowingly, but breathing intentionally, I think, is super important before going on and finding a technique that helps you calm down and really relax your nervous system.
So you pretty much host every day, isn't it, as a part of your job? What are the best preparation tips, or what does your morning begin with to prepare for a lovely session of hosting at Dubai One TV?
Yeah, I like to be really relaxed, even during rehearsals or even before we started this podcast, the way we were sitting and talking just as like we are friends, I think that really sets the tone for the energy that you want to bring to that moment. So if it's before going into studio, I'm talking to everyone, I'm relaxed, I'm getting to know my guests a lot more before we actually go on stage or in the studio, because I want them to be comfortable with me. I want them to feel like I'm their friend and that they can tell me anything and they're in safe hands, So my morning looks very relaxed. Hair and makeup is pretty intense. So that's probably the most stressful part of my morning, to be honest. But once that is done, it's just research and preparation, because you never want to go underprepared. You never want to be the person who has no idea who's in front of you, because I think that's like the highest insult that you can give to someone, disrespecting them by not really knowing their story and finding out there and then on the spot. So yeah, I would say those kind of steps to ensure that the experience is enjoyable, not just for you, but the people around you as well.
That's some brilliant tips. And I think as a part of that, I did my research. So I know you moved here from UK to Dubai about 7 years ago, like we were discussing. Talk to us about that experience of the transition from life in the UK to life in UAE.
Yeah, I think about it often because I think in order to kind of appreciate where you are now, you need to know where you came from. And born and raised in London, an Indian family and a big Indian family. And I was in Northwest London. I mean, you're around the same type of people all your life growing up. You've got the same set of friends. I still have those friends to this day. But it was a very particular way of life where the only way success was determined was if you were, and I'm sure you've heard this on the podcast, it's if you were one of the best professions in the world, if you were in medicine, if you're a dentist, if you're a lawyer, albeit maybe even an accountant in phase 2, if you have to be. But I was a creative and I was sporty and I was a semi-professional tennis player. So it was a very different kind of upbringing, because I had quite modern parents. I had parents who were really supportive and understanding of what I wanted to be. And then on the other side, I had friends who didn't actually have supportive parents. They had to go into medicine. They had no choice. So for me, it was kind of just normal that I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And moving from London to the UAE, it was like I was reborn. So I moved here when I was 25. And, when you live with your family, as an Indian, you know that we really don't leave our family home until we're married, and you go from one household to another household. And this was the first time I ever lived on my own. And I had freedom. I didn't know what to do with it. It was scary. I miss my family so much. But I knew why I was here. I kept reminding myself of the goal of what I want to achieve in my career. And so I just kept my head down and just kept working.
And you were the face of MTV UK, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that experience and, some of the challenges you faced and how it went through.
Yeah, that was such a, I have such a trigger trauma from it because it sounds so amazing on the outside.
I think people would give their life for it, right?
100%.
Isn't it? And it's kind of the dream of a lot of teenagers.
Absolutely. It's like the number one to be an MTV presenter is like, you've made it. And I came out of university and I entered this competition they were doing online and I got it. And I was shocked. And then I was doing red carpets. I was attending London Fashion Week. I was doing all the amazing glamorous stuff. And then a year after, the contract ended and they'd actually decided not to continue this district MTV path that they'd created. And that was it. And I was done and I was unemployed and I was lost. And, you know, it's like the carrot is dangled in front of you and you've got a piece of it and then it's taken away. You want it even more. And so I refused after that. I was like, this is not my TV career over. Like we need to keep going. And I found a way around, but I eventually got there.
So from unemployment to becoming a household name today, to being the host of Channel 4, talk to us about that journey. How did that happen?
Yeah, wow. It was a lot of tears. It was a lot of crying in bed, especially when I was still in London unemployed and my mum coming home from work and finding me in bed. And I kept saying to her that I know I'm meant to do this, but I just don't know. I need someone to believe in me because I think it's amazing that we all believe in ourselves. We see all this content out there. Believe in yourself, believe in yourself. I think it's past that now. I think we believe in ourselves, but there does come a point in your career where you need other people to believe in you. Even, for example, this podcast, to get guests on, people need to believe in you in order to come along. And I felt that. I said, I know I've got it. I just need other people to see it. So there's a thin line between seeking validation, I think, from people, but then also trying to show them what you can do and what you can create. And being a household name then on radio, I mean, radio was never the plan. As you know, like TV was just the goal from day one. And I kind of stumbled into radio. And I say stumbled, and I feel really bad for saying that because radio is such a craft and people spend years in radio to get to a national breakfast show level. And I went from hosting like a local radio station in Watford, where I'm from, to hosting a national breakfast show within the space of 6 months. So it was a very different route for me, but radio was just something different. You know, it was so fun. It's so different to TV. And it was honestly the best 5 years of my life.
So your journey is very unique and versatile in its own sense, right? So in addition to hosting radio, in addition to hosting on TV, you've hosted mega shows from what I know. Jay Shetty was one of them. I think Tyra Banks was remarkably praising you. I saw that reel on your Insta. Yeah. Tell us about those experiences. Like, what was Jay Shetty like?
Jay is one of the most phenomenal people I know. He's a very close friend of mine. He is constantly supporting me. And when he messaged me to say, hey, I'm going to do my world tour in India. Do you want to host it? I was like, absolutely. Is that even a question? But you know what was more than anything, it was being and witnessing and being in the presence of someone who is so intentional in everything that they do and seeing a master at work. You know, I think that we have so much value in just shadowing people and understanding what they do. And for me to experience that with one of the biggest names and one of the greatest, I think, people in our lifetime to really spread love and joy, it was just, I learned so much from him. So that was great. And Tyra, you know, they say never meet your idol.
Yes.
You know, because you might be let down. Tyra was just phenomenal. You know, before we even started like shooting, she was complimenting me. She was making me feel like I'm the bestest person in the room. And I think like that goes back to the first thing we spoke about is how we make other people feel. And she really is just like one of the best as well. So luckily I've had really good experiences so far.
And really amazing ones, right? Isn't it? Moving on, you're also hosting a marketing communication program very soon.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. Speaker is like my absolute passion baby. You know, I went from loving radio and TV. I still love what I do. But something in me like last year switched to legacy mode of what do I want to leave behind? Like, what is my message to everyone? What have I learned? And, you know, the truth is I didn't go through any media training. I haven't done anything official. I have self-taught everything to myself that I do now. And so I had to create something that I feel like I can leave with others. And when I was on the radio, I was going around to schools and I was doing these talks at these schools, and these kids, all they kept asking me was, oh my gosh, how are you so confident? How do you do it? I want to be like you. And I just saw myself when I was a kid, and I was such a mute, and I was so timid, and I barely spoke, which is a shock to many people because I talk now too much. But these kids really, really wanted to learn how to be confident. And I think it's not taught to us in schools. You know, it's not something that we go to a class for. It's not something that we're taught with techniques and tips, you know. And I thought, if I can create something that can help kids all the way through to adults, I work with brands and companies as well in character confidence and communication, then absolutely, why not? So I'm really, really excited. It's something that we've been working on for a very long time, and we are launching officially in January.
A lot of people need it. Because life skills is not something which is taught properly in schools or colleges, right? So whether it is speaking publicly, whether it is financial literacy, none of these skills actually get taught in our current education system.
Yeah, not at all. I feel like there's drama classes and acting classes and stuff like that. But how do we really get children from a young age to understand their communication style? I mean, a lot of adults don't even know their communication styles. And there's different ways, by the way. There's a communication style in the way you communicate, and then there's communication styles in the way you receive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, you know, also half of communication is listening, you know, and it's reading other people. So I have taught myself over the years to read people's body language, their facial expressions, their energy as a whole, because that is super important in what I do. Introducing someone to the stage, having these conversations, I need to know how they're feeling. I need to know if they're engaged. So if someone is not making eye contact with me, if someone's body language is completely turned away from me, their arms are crossed, I know they are totally disengaged with me.
Right.
So I know that I need to switch things up in order to help them open up. And then I see their body language completely change. They're laughing, they're making eye contact. You know, you actually kind of have to see it outside in. And so half of it, yes, is your communication and the way you do it, but half of it is how you receive and perceive everything around you.
So Nimi, you can read people, right? So how do you know someone is lying to you?
It's actually the easiest thing to tell when someone's lying. They're fidgeting a lot. They don't make eye contact when they're telling you their lie. So for example, I can say, I'm wearing a blue top, and I will always look down. My body language is completely muddled up. You know, my head would be saying like, yes, but I actually mean no. You know, your body basically tells you everything, even though their voice tells you something else. So yeah, I've caught a lot of liars in my time. I'll tell you that. You can spot them from a mile away.
Nimi, you're a natural lie detector, I would say. And I think if you are a company who's looking for a human lie detector, we have one right here for you.
Here I am.
Let's move on to something which is my favorite round of this show. This is where we get to know you more. This is where we get to know the other side of Nimi that the world doesn't know. We call it the direct dil se round, or the rapid fire round, as you would have guessed. And quick questions and quick answers. And no sort of, you know, it's direct dil se. It's meant to be what comes to your heart first, right? Okay, so are you ready?
Ready.
Let's rock it. The most inspiring person you've ever met?
Jay Shetty.
One word to describe your journey so far?
Roller coaster.
A dream guest on your podcast?
Roger Federer, tennis player.
Oh my God.
He's my idol.
That's a really, really good choice. A book that has influenced you greatly?
Ooh, The Mountain Within You.
Do you like reading? Do you read a lot? Or?
I don't read a lot, but when I do read specific books that are recommended by friends, you know, I go through with highlighters and I highlight and I make notes. Yeah. And The Mountain Within You is such a powerful book.
And what's the book about?
It's just about basically like understanding yourself, imposter syndrome, overcoming things and getting to the peak of the mountain and then understanding that it's actually you.
Tell us about a hobby that you cherish.
A hobby that I cherish is, I know it sounds silly, but like taking my dog for a walk. That is just as simple as it helps me gather all of my thoughts in one time, and the madness and the noise around me is just completely away. So I'd probably say that.
Your mantra for success?
Be kind, because that will get you to exactly where you need to be, even if you were mean, if that makes sense. Because I think that people can get to the same destination with good intentions just at the same time.
A movie that resonates with your life story?
Ooh, King Richard. Because obviously I'm a semi-ex-professional tennis player, but that journey just of like believing in yourself and then reaching the highest highs in the world is probably where I want to reach.
The best advice you've ever received?
You can be more than one thing.
Really?
Yes. Because I had this kind of scary movement going from being a TV and radio host to now becoming a public speaking mentor and going into the educational space. I had a lot of people DM me and message me and say like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you're just meant to be an entertainer. Why are you trying to be something else? And it's actually Mr. Jay Shetty that said this to me. He said, you can be more than one thing, Nimi. You don't have to be one thing or the other. You can be two things if you want. So you can be a TV and radio host, but you can also be someone who's spreading, public speaking skills. So.
And I'm sure you're going to do brilliant at it. So we wish you all the very best
Thank
for
you.
that. We're not done yet. So
Okay.
we've got more. Okay. One thing that you wish to learn.
More patience, I think.
I think you're pretty patient.
Really?
Yeah.
I think patience in my career, I want it to move quicker. We all do. We want it to happen quicker.
Yeah.
I need to just know that when it's meant for me, it will be for me.
A skill that you're proud of.
My public speaking, very proud of that.
What does finding your voice mean to you?
Wow, it's everything. It's absolutely everything because it's at the core of you. And people will find it at different ages and stages of their life. But I think that if you actively try to seek it, it will also try to find you back. And once you not only find your voice, but then learn how to use it in the most beautiful way possible, I think that it creates incredible relationships as well. And that's why we're all here. It's to create these human connections with one another. So it's everything.
You talked about human connections and relationships and all that. What's the best relationship advice you would give us?
In any context, like friendships, relationships.
Absolutely. What's the mantra that you follow?
I think it comes down to reading and understanding the other person, friendship, work colleague, relationship, whatever it may be, and understanding them, what they want, their depth, but also like more than anything, like having just a best friend, that will like see you through every single storm. So I'm really conscious of that. By the way, like I'm very selective about the friends that I have around me. I'm very conscious of that. And I think that, people forget. People think that friends is a number game. It's not. It's about, I would rather just have one very good friend than 10 people around you who don't really have your best intentions at heart. So yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Having the right support system where no matter how small or big it is, like even if it's really small, it's the people who believe in you.
Yeah.
That makes the most impact.
And honestly, I would put probably 80% of my success down to the fact that I only surrounded myself with people who believed in me and who truly shared the vision that I had for myself. And you can always identify the friends that don't, by the way. Like there's a very simple test that you can do.
What's the test?
The test is sharing good news with your friend. It's as simple as telling them the biggest news, like, oh my gosh, you'll never guess what, we just bought a house, and seeing their reaction. Their reaction will tell you all. And this comes down to, again, reading other people. Their body language might drop, their eyes might drop, their face might drop. Their voice, their instant reaction will not be, I am so happy for you. It will actually be, oh, so how much did you get that for then? And these kind of telltales are so obvious. So I would say, like, if you are going through a time in your life where you're questioning a lot of people around you, friends, even if in your relationship that doesn't support you, do these kind of tests. It's really interesting. It will tell you who's really there for you and who wants the best for you.
And your well-wishers will always support and be there with you in the good news as well as in the bad news.
100%. 100%.
I mean, you told us you're from India originally.
Originally.
And I've never heard you speak Hindi.
Okay.
So can you say a Bollywood dialogue for us?
Sure. I mean, this is the first time this will ever happen in my life. I speak Hindi when I'm in India because I'm surrounded by it, but I'm also Gujarati. So Gujarati, I'm fluent. I read, write, everything. But Hindi, I'm struggling with. There is one line from a Shah Rukh movie, which is an absolute classic. Picture abhi baki hai dost. There you go. That was smooth. But I do feel like I sound super British when I say it. I might as well be like, picture abhi baki hai dost.
Yeah, you could add your own English slang to it. The poo.
Exactly. I did meet Kareena.
Yeah, you did.
Last
yes,
week.
How was that?
She was so lovely. She was so lovely. And again, you have this idea that she's Kareena Kapoor Khan. She's going to be,
in the sky.
In the sky. And she wasn't. She was so humble. She was so lovely. She wasn't feeling well. So that's probably why. But like, she was great as well. But yeah, I'm probably going to just stick to English. than Hindi, you know?
No, the Hindi is for the fun, right? I
Yeah.
think you should bring it back on a number of times, and once you
think?
practice, I think.
Yeah.
I think you remind me of that Angrez from Lagan.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I sound like her.
You do. But thank you so much for this round. You did brilliantly in our Direct Dil Se round. And we have this hamper for you. This hamper is also being brought together by the women from our community. Wow. So everything that you see in this hamper, whether it's a little bouquet made by hand or the raisin art, the mugs, the decoration, everything comes from a women entrepreneur trying to have a second innings.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much. That is so kind.
All yours to take home. You know, Indian Women Dubai is a community of women coming together. What's your message to all the women who look up to you, who would love to have a career like yours, who would love to be a radio host or an anchor one day, who would love to learn public speaking? What would you tell them?
I'm aware that in our culture, a lot of the time, our voice is determined by other people. Our voice is not our voice, and it is given to us and handed to us as a norm, as this is how it should be. I would say that we need to actually detach from that idea and that notion and surround ourselves with people who will help us to discover our own voice and understand the importance of understanding our own voice. Because, I, for a long time, felt like I was speaking the way my mum was speaking. And I shared ideas of the world that weren't actually my ideas. They were my mum's ideas or my dad's ideas or my sister's ideas. And we do that in Indian families, We share each other's ideas and ideologies, and then we think it's ours. So I would say take some time to understand what you actually want and what you want to be. And once you find that voice, sharing it with the world is the most powerful thing you can do. And that doesn't have to be in a TV presenter mode. It could be doing a podcast. It could be creating communities like you have and having discussions with other women and other people who you resonate with. So I hope that would help them in some way or another.
That's a brilliant piece of advice. So find your voice and find the right support system that supports you and shares you in your successes as well as is there when you need the help. That's the key message from our lovely guest today, Nimi Mehta, and she has been brilliant in the show. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back with another Women of Wonder very soon. Namaste.
Hi, I'm Nimi Mehta. You're watching me on the Women of Wonder podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you soon.